In the vibrant democracy of India, politics plays a pivotal role in shaping the country's future. But have you ever paused to consider the fuel that drives these political machines? Yes, we're talking about political financing. Before we delve into the controversial world of electoral bonds, let's take a brief look at the history and evolution of political financing in India. Political parties rely on funds to function, and these funds come from a variety of sources: individual donations, corporate funding, membership fees, and even state funding. However, the process of political financing in India has always been shrouded in secrecy, leading to a lack of transparency and accountability. Over the years, the government has introduced several reforms to bring about transparency and curb the influence of black money in politics. But these measures have been fraught with loopholes and controversies. In 2018, the government introduced a new instrument to fund political parties. The electoral bond, presented as a tool for clean and transparent political funding, the electoral bond scheme has instead opened a Pandora's box of questions and concerns. In the next scene, we will unveil the controversial world of electoral bonds and how they have impacted political financing in India. So, get ready for a deep dive into the world of electoral bonds as we question their transparency, their impact on democracy, and the urgent need for clean campaign financing. Have you ever wondered where political parties get their funding from? Today, we delve into the world of electoral bonds. Electoral bonds, a financial instrument for making donations to political parties, were introduced in India in 2018 by the Bharatiya Janata Party-led government. The idea was to create a transparent system for party financing, but the actual implementation has raised a few eyebrows. The State Bank of India, the only bank authorized to issue these bonds, was recently ordered by the Supreme Court of India to release information on donations made via electoral bonds. This move was prompted by concerns over the opaque nature of these transactions, leading to a potential misuse of funds. The information release revealed a staggering amount of money flowing into political parties, with a significant majority going to the ruling BJP. Interestingly, the contributors were not just profitable, thriving companies. Loss-making firms, some with aggregate losses of over 1 lakh crore from 2016 to 2023, were also found donating substantial sums close to 582 crore, 75% of which went to the BJP. Additionally, some firms were making donations exceeding their aggregate profits. Others, newly incorporated, were making donations before the stipulated 3-year period after being formed, and some were not even reporting data on net profits or direct taxes. The nature of these donations raises several questions. Were these loss-making firms fronts to launder money? Were the firms that did not report profit losses shell companies? Were the firms making significant profits but not paying net direct taxes involved in tax evasion? So, as the details emerge, this situation that may lead to unforeseen problems of electoral bonds, the apprehensions of regulatory and policy-making institutions about the scheme seem to be confirmed. This is just the tip of the iceberg. The mystery of electoral bonds is still unraveling, and the revelations thus far necessitate a thorough investigation. As the details emerge, the apprehensions of regulatory and policy-making institutions about the scheme seem to be confirmed. The Supreme Court's intervention brought an end to the opaque scheme, but the aftermath is concerning. In the wake of this scheme's termination, we are left with the unsettling reality that large sums were donated from questionable sources before each election. This reality isn't just an eyebrow-raising anomaly, it's a concerning situation of the campaign financing structure that has been in place over recent years. The nature and scale of these donations are disconcerting, to say the least. It's not merely a question of who gave what. It's a question of why these firms, some under investigation, some not even profitable, were so eager to part with substantial amounts of money. It's a question of whether these donations were a means to launder money, evade taxes, or ensure quid pro quo. As the dust settles on a whirlwind of revelations, the call for a thorough investigation into the nature of these donations grows louder. The implications are too serious to be swept under the rug. We need to ascertain if laws were broken, if the spirit of democratic transparency was compromised. While the country is in the throes of a general election, it's crucial for the electorate to understand the effects of the electoral bonds issue. But the responsibility doesn't end at the ballot box. Once the election is over and the focus shifts back to governance, it's paramount that Parliament and regulatory institutions take up the mantle. These bodies must delve into the heart of the matter, investigating whether the donors and recipients of these funds flouted the law. The judiciary, the guardian of justice in our democratic system, must encourage these institutions to take action. It's not just about uncovering past transgressions, it's about preventing future ones. It's about ensuring that our democratic process is not tainted by shadowy dealings and unaccounted funds. It's about safeguarding the sanctity of our elections. The judiciary, parliament, and other regulatory institutions must encourage to take action into whether the donors and recipients broke laws. The electoral bonds issue brings to light the urgent need for clean campaign and electoral financing. This need is no mere recommendation, but a critical component in maintaining the health and integrity of a democracy. After all, a democracy is a reflection of its citizens, and the means through which political campaigns are funded can greatly influence the direction and priorities of a government. When campaign financing is clean and transparent, it allows for a level playing field where ideas, rather than money, are the deciding factor. It ensures that elected officials are driven by the interests of their constituents, rather than the financial might of a few. In essence, it reinforces the very principle of democracy, that power should be in the hands of the many, not the few. In the case of the electoral bonds issue, we saw how questionable donations could raise concerns about possible money laundering and tax evasion, casting a shadow over the democratic process. This is why it's crucial for the electorate, that's you and me, to understand the effects of such situations. It's up to us to question, to probe, and to hold our elected officials accountable. We should remember that a democracy thrives on the active participation of its citizens. Our role doesn't end at casting a vote. It extends to staying informed about the issues that affect our nation, including how our elections are funded. It involves raising our voices when we see discrepancies and pushing for reforms when necessary. In the wake of the electoral bonds issue, it is clear that a thorough investigation is needed into the nature of campaign donations and whether laws were broken. But beyond that, we should strive for a system that values transparency and fairness in campaign financing. This isn't just about one party or one election. It's about the future of our democracy. Stay informed, participate in the democratic process, and help ensure the integrity of our democracy. Before we wrap up, let's take a moment to understand some of the complex terms used in this video. This will not only help you better comprehend the intricacies of the electoral bond scandal, but also equip you to engage in more informed discussions about it. First up is Pandora's box. In Greek mythology, Pandora's box is a container which, when opened, released all the evils of the world, leaving only hope inside. In modern usage, it refers to a source of endless complications or trouble, just like the electoral bonds issue in this case. Next, we have lauded. This simply means to praise highly, especially in public. For instance, the electoral bonds scheme was initially lauded as a step towards transparency. Indictment is a formal accusation that someone has committed a crime. In our context, it was used to refer to the need for a thorough investigation into the nature of campaign donations to determine if any laws were broken. Prod is to encourage or persuade someone to do something. As citizens, it's our responsibility to prod our elected officials to ensure transparency and fairness in campaign financing. Lastly, naysayers. These are people who often criticize something or say it cannot succeed. In our scenario, the naysayers were those who raised concerns about possible money laundering and tax evasion. Understanding these terms will not only help you grasp the complexities of the electoral bond scandal, but also empower you to engage in more informed discussions about it. Remember, an informed citizenry is the backbone of a healthy democracy.